Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the next episode of Thrive Talk. And today we're going to talk once again about what's happening on the 1st of August. A lot of people are still concerned that they're going to lose their Bitcoin. And should you actually be concerned? So I've invited Merv Smith here today, a very good friend of mine, very passionate about Bitcoin, and I'd like to call her the new Bitcoin guru out there. So welcome Merv.
Thanks, Willie. Yeah, before we get started on what we want to chat about, which is very relevant actually, because everybody who knows anything about Bitcoins is seriously concerned about the 1st of August, But before we even start, remember Y2K? Were you alive? Do you remember that debacle? Nothing happened. It was a non-event.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that we're going to find the same. But, my Bitcoin passion has been coming for quite a few years now. And recently this year actually was at the blockchain event in South Africa in Joburg in March. Just recently come back from the FinTech Week in London. And it's quite incredible, when you in this environment, you don't realize the far reach that Bitcoin actually has and the market adoption. So because of that, because of the market adoption, I think at the end of the talk I have a list of the indicators of how would you find the fundamentals, because you need to be, when you're talking about Bitcoin, look at, or any cryptocurrency, is to look at the fundamentals of that currency, and that will tell you, is it a good deal or isn't it? So one of the fundamentals is the market adoption. And looking at, do people understand it? Are people buying into it? And let me tell you, there's a huge adoption going on. When we're still at early days, okay? Yes. But there's a huge adoption, and we've got huge media getting involved, and things like that. So there's also a lot of money involved in the startups and in building Bitcoin and its adoption. So the chances, what we found in the last 2 years when these scaling debates started, was that the Bitcoin price took a drop. Remember beginning?
Yes.
It's sort of the year it went huge, and then it just sort of started sinking down, and then there was a major drop, and everybody sort of panicked. But the guys that are involved realized that, listen, we're going to lose a lot of money if we don't pull ourselves together and come into alignment together and find some consensus. So that's kind of where we want to start off today. So what is the scaling debate? Why is it there? What is it there for? And it's simply to increase the speed and the volume of the transactions.
Yeah, because especially with so many people all over the world now realizing what Bitcoin is, we've had this massive increase in transactions going through the blockchain and causing its own problems.
Yeah, you and I had an incident, remember?
Yes.
And it took I don't know, I've had up to 10 days before a transaction was cleared through the blockchain. Yeah. And for the novice, that would scare the daylights out of them. Yeah. But you'll find that today it's picked up because people are sort of adopting it more and more, and we'll go into some of the time frame of what's happening at the moment, and you'll see why it's picking up.
So let's just quickly, and Gerrit and I touched on this in a previous episode with BIP 148 and SegWit and BIP 91 and all these different things that people are talking about, and it actually causes more confusion.
Yes.
So so that's the thing is we just want to give people the information so that they can understand that there's no need to panic.
There's absolutely no need to panic, okay? So we need to understand a little bit about Bitcoin itself. We need to understand that it's an anti-fragile system, meaning that we've been going since 2008, or beginning of 2009. It's never been infiltrated or virus attacked or destroyed.
Yeah.
Because that's the very design and the core of what Bitcoin is.
Yes.
Okay, so that needs to give us some hope. And also, within the protocol of Bitcoin, it allows for splitting of the coin. In fact, what happens is 2 to 3 times a week already there's a split. There's
and
a
we
fork.
just don't know about it.
You don't know about it because the network itself or the core itself is designed for to have breakaways for whatever reason. We have a decentralized ledger. It's throughout this planet. There's going to come times with timing differences and whatever. But what happens is at the end of these forks, they come together again through the validation process, and it's all back in line.
And that's the core of the technology.
Correct. That's built into the technology. What's also built into the technology actually is for a hard fork, which is what people are dreading would happen on the 1st of August, which is not going to happen, but it could happen. But that's also built into the core of Bitcoin. But then what would that mean? It would mean that they would replicate the system, and one part would take it one way and another part would take it the other way. So you would have then 2 coins and all the rest of it.
And it's not something new because it happened to Ethereum.
Yes, and Ethereum also have had major hacks, and that was really, really bad. And the split came through that major hacking, which you can't do with Bitcoin. So this is similar, but not the same.
Not the same.
It's cryptocurrency, what can I say?
Yeah.
Also, what's nice about Bitcoin is it's decentralized. Nobody owns it. No country, no border, not a soul can own it. People would try to manipulate it. I remember at the beginning, this is a bit off subject, sorry, but I remember at the beginning of the year when China started to bring the exchanges in for regulation, we thought, oh my word, what's going to happen to the price? Because China monopolizes everything, and so they're the ones that keeping the price up. Well, what we found out is that's not true.
True.
And that gave us hope because the price dropped slightly, but has escalated unbelievably since then. So that's that. So, we could really get into major technical stuff, which would bore you, which would bore me. And do we need to know it?
And everybody else.
We like to use electricity, right? We're using it today.
Yes.
Do you know how it works? I don't, but I use it.
Yeah.
And that's Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But if you want, I've got 2 links which you can put in under the video of 2 different talks. One is a definitive guide to Bitcoin for the 1st of August, give you more detail, more technical jargon and whatever. And then there's one by Andreas on question and answers on SegWit, scaling, consensus, and the likes. Actually, it's very, very nice video. Technical. But not so technical that would throw the normal oak like me off my chair,
and I see the 1st of August actually being a defining point in the history of Bitcoin, showing people that nobody can actually manipulate the system.
Correct.
Because it's where we had a situation with all of the transactions going through that miners were charging higher fees to give certain members that were willing to pay those fees preferential treatment. And now this is going to change that and show that that's not possible with the system, and it brings more integrity to Bitcoin.
It does, and it brings integrity in a number of ways. So we've really got 2 schools of thought here, or 2 parties. If you were talking like a political party, you got the Bitcoin core and you got Bitcoin Unlimited, which sort of like the Mavericks, and they're the ones that would like to break away from the core of Bitcoin and change its structure, and not how Satoshi Nakamoto wanted to put it. So the chances of that happening, no, but he may go ahead, it's Roger Ver and his group, they may go ahead and create a different coin, and which I could see happening, which is fine, but it's not going to impact on Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
So just the date, I've got timelines here. Obviously, everything that I speak to you about is something I've learned from somebody else. I wish I was the worst. Yes. Look, passion, I didn't pick up from somebody else. I'm very passionate about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. But dates and things about what's happening for the first, leading up to the first, some of the dates we've already passed. Has anything happened? No. But we're coming to a crucial time right now. So the start of where the miners and the nodes had to start getting ready for the first, where the dates were very important, started on the 14th of July. And we are now, what's today? The 23rd or something? 24th. So we're on the 24th of July, where some important dates have already passed. We found on the 20th, I think it was, 21st actually, the signaling of the BIP 91 went out, and it was accepted. Now, with Bitcoin, you need an absolute majority. So you need the majority of 95% to have something happen. And what they've found is they've put the BIP 91 in, and it's already signaling at 91 or 92%. So it's already in. People, what it's saying is, yes, we're in for this. We like the way that this is moving, and we're going that way. So, but for us, as the men in the street, the ladies in the street, what do we do with our Bitcoins during this time? And so we had the 14th, 21st, 23rd, but the 25th is a date. So that's tomorrow, right? That's a date that we should take note of. One of the things to do, a precursor to that, is to do best practice on Bitcoin, is any cryptocurrency, is do not leave your coins on exchanges. That should just be by nature. Nobody should be leaving their coins on exchanges. So what does that mean? You take it off, you put it on offline devices and things like that. If you don't have an offline device or a hardware device, whatever you want to call it, then at least put it in somewhere where you've got your 12 phrase
protection.
That type of thing. So like blockchain.info. So move your coins into something like that. It's more secure. Do not leave it on an exchange, because you could end up with a real issue if this went south. Okay, so that's the first thing. So what do we do tomorrow? Make sure that you should always have control of your private keys. And if you don't have control, that means that you're on an exchange. They have your private keys. So don't do that. Keep your private keys. From tomorrow onwards, where possible, avoid transactions on the blockchain. And it's only for a few days, but where possible, avoid them. Rather do all your transactions today, get those out of the way, and just hold your coins, just hold your stuff. And if you can, make 2 wallets. So if you're going to do a blockchain.info wallet, do 2. So that if there is a split, you've got 2 ways to go. Okay, because you're going to have a replicated ledger anyway. Then on the 29th, you do nothing. On the 31st, you do nothing. On the 1st of August, you do nothing, but hold your coins. That's all. You don't have to worry about it, because whatever happens, the right thing will always happen. We know that. But where the blockchain is concerned, by the 1st, all the signals will be out. The final 140 BIP 148 will have happened. The day before would have been the BIP 141, etc. So we'll kind of be at the end, and then everybody will be thinking like Y2K. What was the fuss? There's nothing going on, you know, and. So there's nothing to worry about. Just be wise. Make sure you got control of your private keys. Everything else is easy peasy.
Good. And then after the 1st of August, people are saying, how long do I wait before I start transacting again?
The 2nd of August.
2nd of August.
And buy as many coins as you can now, because the price is going to rocket.
Absolutely.
It's going to really go up.
Yeah, because all of these things that are happening is just going to create more momentum in Bitcoin, and we're already seeing it. I mean, I've been seeing announcements of Swiss banks, private banks, bringing Bitcoin into their structures for their customers and things like that, and from there you can actually understand that if banks are bringing it in, there's no real concern.
The company that I represent, one of the offices is in Zug, which is known as Crypto Valley, because they have all the huge banking houses, etc. there, and every one of the banks have what they call a blockchain desk. Meaning that they are investigating that. And at the blockchain event in March that I went to, all the banks were represented there, the Reserve Bank was there, etc. And they are all talking about the underlying structure. What makes Bitcoin so fantastic is the blockchain.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's immutable. Once on the blockchain, always on the blockchain. Except if it was Ethereum, then they changed the blockchain, and that's why there was a hard fork. But with Bitcoin, that can't happen. It never will happen. So that technology is what holds us in good stead. So some of and you might want to put up some of these when considering a coin, but you'll find that in there, what pushes up the price, we were just talking about consumer, merchants, institution adoption, and that's what we were talking about, right? Banks, big business. You've got Microsoft in there. The media's buy-in or adoption of Bitcoin. You've got CNN, you've got Bloomberg, you've got our own Bit Media. You've got huge
not
medias.
just that. You actually see that being mentioned in soaps and dramas and stuff on television as well. I mean, we've got a program running in South Africa on one of our channels that on Friday night they were chatting about Bitcoin. Amazing. Yeah. So yes, it's definitely out there, and people are taking notice.
Yeah, it's what's very, there's such huge applications for Bitcoin that just make it just, well, this is what we should do, is the fact that you can easily cross the border without any issues. So in South Africa, we have a lot of people from other countries that work here, and they want to send their monies home. Yeah. And that, at the moment, I won't mention who they are, but everybody will know who they are. There's only one institution that they can go to. It's not a bank, and they can then remit their money from here to Zambia, to wherever, Nigeria, wherever they want their money to go, and it costs them 25% to do that.
Off the money, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You use Bitcoin, costs them nothing. Yeah. Well, a minus fee. How much is a minus fee? I mean, really, it's a couple of cents. Yeah. So there's those kind of things that are fantastic. Yeah. We look at Venezuela and India. Let's talk about India, when the government decided we don't like the big currencies, the big notes, the fiat currencies, the paper money. They don't want those big currencies in it. So overnight, they took that currency out. It was no longer legal tender. They then closed the banks for 4 days, and people couldn't go and exchange those big notes for smaller notes. Do you know that some people died? Physically died.
Because they couldn't get money.
They couldn't get money. They couldn't get medication. They couldn't get food, etc. Venezuela went the same way. So what are they doing now is they're using Bitcoin, and they are buying through places like Amazon, etc. And they're crossing the border, picking up the food, and they're using Bitcoin to do that. Bitcoin has fantastic applications. Absolutely. And people like to throw in your face, well, what about Silk Road, in the early dark days of the dark net? We can use our dollars and our rands to buy and do evil stuff just as much as good.
Yeah, that's true.
But so don't panic with Y2K or SegWit or SegWit or SegWit times 2 times 4 times 100 or BIP 91, 141, 148. I mean, we could make a song. Should we start rapping?
So there you've got it. So don't panic about the 1st of August. It's definitely not as big a thing as everybody think it is. Like Merv said, just be safe with your Bitcoin. And then, thank you for being here, Merv, and clearing some things for people out there. And remember, after this episode, once again, a success story in Thrive International, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Cheers.
Hi, I'm Willie Breed from South Africa, Joburg in South Africa actually. And I just want to spend some time giving my testimonial about Thrive International, sharing my story, because I've been quiet about this for a long time, because it's not always about you. It's most of the time it's for me about the people in my team and the people reaching success in my team. But sometimes you need to take a stand, get out of that comfort zone and just give your testimonial, and that's what I want to do today. So I joined Thrive International when Thrive actually launched in October last year in 2016, and over the years I've picked up experience in the industry, more than 20 years that I've been involved with a lot of businesses online and network marketing businesses, MLMs, direct sales, everything like that. And I was looking for an opportunity that would really make a difference, an opportunity that I could see that could really make a difference to everybody's lives. And that's what I saw in Thrive International. Even that first day when I met with James Francis, our CEO and founder, I knew that this was the business. And I was at a point actually of giving up. I was at a point of giving up and saying I'm not carrying on in this industry anymore, because it just became too much. You would earn a little bit, but never get to a point where you were earning sustainable income and looking for that passive recurring income. And for the first time in Thrive International, I can see that that's actually possible. And you will see on my background, I've got some of my dreams that have been realized and some of the dreams that are still coming. And that's important as well, is that you have to focus on those goals and those things that you actually want to achieve. So I just want to give everybody the confidence to become part of Thrive International. This business has changed my life, especially since January this year. In January, towards the end of January, I made a conscious decision that I was going to work this business. I wasn't going to wait around for anybody anymore. I wasn't going to wait for other people to do something. I was going to take action, and that's exactly what I did. And with some members in my team that really helped me along the way, and I say thank you to all of them, I've achieved a major goal in Thrive International. And for the first time, being in online businesses on a permanent basis, I can actually say that I can cover my costs every single month, and I am growing all the time. And I'm moving towards that financial freedom for the first time in my life. So I urge you to look at Thrive International. This business is here to stay. It's sustainable and it's paying. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you as members in Thrive International.